before I went to university there, I don't know that city, and you know that.
Ningpo.
Who is the real Chinese here? Oh my god. Okay.
You.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Of course, yeah.
Don't play that political game with me.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Comedy with an Accent podcast. I'm your Taiwanese comedian, Quan Wen. I interview comedians who perform English stand-up comedy but who are not native English speakers or they can have very distinct British regional accent. This podcast is all about comedy, about accent, about languages, and about the comedy technique. So stay tuned if you're interested. Hi, welcome back to Comedy with an Accent podcast. Sorry, I'm speaking a little bit weirdly because we've been in the studio for an hour.
Yes.
It's finally up and running. Right, I'm going to cut because we have a limited amount of time for recording. Today, I'm welcoming my third guest from China.
Yeah.
So I have to resist the temptation of speaking in my mother tongue with her as something more natural. Actually, we will be doing another bonus episode in Mandarin and releasing a week later. I don't know. Can I ask the audience, does that irritate you if you don't speak Mandarin and you see this bonus episode coming out? Say, oh, only in Mandarin. If you don't speak Mandarin, you ain't gonna hear it. I mean, it's not my propaganda to force the world to learn this language. Already now people speak it. So please get in touch. If that does irritate you, you find it annoying, write to comedywithaccentpodcast@gmail.com. Right. Without further delay, welcome my guest today. That is the Chinese comedian Blank Peng.
Yeah.
That's
the silence is perfect.
That's not the post-production. That's what's all her clapping. Hi, Blank.
Hello,
Hi.
Colin.
Extremely awkward. We're speaking to each other in Mandarin.
For hours and now suddenly into English.
In English. Yeah, we were talking while I was waiting in Mandarin. I got to know Blank according to one comedy club's introduction. It's a bilingual comic who has taken the comedy scene by storm. That's from Big Belly Comedy Club, from Top Secret Comedy Club in London. Blank Peng is an incognito bilingual stand-up comic. In just 1 year, she became the first winner of the Top Secret Gong Show, a Comedy Store King Gong Show winner. You've been the finalist in Funny Women,
Yes.
and Leicester Square,
Yes.
Theatre New Comedian of the Year, and some else less important. But either way, let me ask you my standard question
Yes.
for every guest. So Blank, do you think when you speak English, you have an accent?
I do think I have an accent, but I don't think it's Chinese accent.
Okay.
People may don't know that, but you know that I'm from Fujian.
Yes.
Fujian is the province next to Taiwan.
Yes.
Closest to. In mainland.
There's still a C in between, but
Yeah.
you say next to.
No. Yeah, because in mainland China, like my accent is recognized as Taiwanese accent.
Ah.
I don't think it's those kind of typical Chinese accent. I would just self-identify as Fujianese accent.
Fujianese accent.
Or Taiwanese accent, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry to inform you, for most people, it comes across as Chinese accents. You're from China, so
Yes.
you will focus on the difference between Northern Chinese and Southern Chinese.
Yes.
But your first language, your mother tongue is still Mandarin. You don't have the Northern accent.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound quite as harsh. But I think for people who speak another language, even from my eyes as Taiwanese, when you speak, I can tell you're not.
Yes.
I'm hoping I'm not destroying your belief system.
No. I know I have a very southern accent in China, but compared to you, I'm quite strong. I can understand.
Yeah, so you pronounce every syllable quite clearly, like crystal clear. And Taiwanese people tend to mumble
Yeah.
a lot more. We are even lazier than how you pronounce it. So I do think people here would think your accent is Chinese for them.
Well, fine. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
But I also think that your accent is Chinese, but on the basis of British English.
Oh, great. Oh, wow. I don't expect that.
I know a lot of people from East Asia, either from Taiwan or China, and most people learn American English.
Yeah.
And the intonation of your English sounds like, and the pronunciation of certain words from you, I feel like there's a bigger impact or bigger influence from the British English. Mm-hmm. Is it because you acquired this accent since you arrived in the UK, or you always learned English from a British tutor when you were in China?
I think most of the Chinese you come across, they are from Shanghai or some other, more well-developed country, and they learn English or province.
This is Blank saying I'm a country pumpkin. It's not right.
So basically, they learn English from very young, like from 3 years old, I don't know. And I'm not very well educated in English, so I'm kind of starting to learning that after arriving here. Maybe that's the reason I'm a little bit more British accent.
Because you were learning from British people after you
Yes,
arrived, right?
yes.
So Blank came to this country to study mechanical engineering, or it was only a lie in a joke?
Okay, so my bachelor degree is in mechanical engineering,
Yes.
and I come here to learn something like the computing. I'm not very good at it, so just keep on.
Have you ever come across people throughout any kind of comment towards your identity as a foreign immigrant or specific comment on your accent?
Yeah, because sometimes after show, they will just come to me and say, is that your real accent or you just playing a character?
How often does it happen?
Like, quite often, like every 2 months, maybe.
Once every 2 months. And
Yeah.
what do you tend to say to them?
I say, yeah, it's a character. My real name is James. I'm a middle-class white man from Windsor.
By mocking them, you kind of poke them, see how inappropriate that question is.
Yeah.
But at least they tend to get it by that point, I hope.
Yeah, true. I think, honestly, I don't feel that offense. So I just trying to mock them back.
I do have to highlight that
Yeah.
you are probably my 41st guest, but majority of my guests are non-native English speakers, but they tend to start performing first in English. So even though English is not their first language, the majority of them started performing comedy in the UK. They are more used to English as the language of performance. So they
Yeah.
create, they write, they think in English. You are one of the rare opposite exceptions. You were already a stand-up comedian in China.
Yes.
And you were performing on the Mandarin comedy circuit in China.
Yes.
By coming here, you were mindful you want to pursue this career. You had to switch your gear.
Yeah.
You move into another language. Is that correct?
Yes, true.
Okay. So how long did you perform in Mandarin in China?
Actually, just 1 year-ish.
Oh, okay.
Not so long, but I'm doing quite well there, so I can kind of identify myself as a culture
So if anyone
professional.
says that being humble is a virtue of Asian people, you need to know Blank. So you rose very quickly
Yes.
in 1 year.
Yeah.
But were you performing in Fujian?
No, so I was doing that during my university, and I was in Ningbo. This is another city like close to the sea, but not very well known.
It's below Shanghai, close to the estuary of Yangtze River,
I
right?
see you Taiwanese spy. Oh my god.
No, the majority of mainlanders who came to Taiwan are from that province.
Oh really?
I mean, not the initial wave, but those who came after the Second World War
Wow.
with Chiang Kai-shek. So the base of Taiwanese Mandarin
Yeah.
sounds quite soft because a lot of Mandarin in Taiwan were taught by people from Zhejiang.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, because before I went to university there, I don't know that city, and you know that.
Ningbo,
Who is the real Chinese here? Oh my god.
you.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Of course, yeah.
Don't play that political game with me.
Yeah.
Let me explain a little bit. China is a very big country. That does not include Taiwan. China is a very big country in that you are my third guest from China.
Yes.
But we haven't repeated a city yet.
Yeah.
So the first guest, Jing, is from Xi'an.
Yes.
My second guest, Jamie, who's based in Taiwan, is from Shanghai,
Oh.
which probably well known for Westerner. But you're from an obscure place.
True.
But not exactly a poor one, though.
It's a poor one. You can admit that. It's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
But you probably don't know that they are very brutal with their city. They call their city the first-rate city, the second-rate city, or the third-rate city, right?
Yeah.
一线城市, 二线城市,
Yeah.
三线. So they already rank the importance, the size, the significance of their cities, and everyone knows that. Are you from a
Third.
third? Can you just imagine people in the UK say that I'm from London, the first-rate city? Where you're from? What?
I'm the in China.
Not
so
but you're like...
you need to add it.
What would be the equivalent of your city in the UK? Leicester? Nottingham? Slough. So
maybe
where,
in
where you're
Taiwan,
from? Where you're
so-
from?
I think we are not.
南宁吗? You don't want to specify further.
Yeah, I think we are friends, but we are not close enough to know my hometown. You will report me or something.
No, I don't. No, the only reason I want to highlight is that in that province, the dialect from the north and from the south are different.
Oh, yeah, true.
So my ancestor came from the south of this province.
Yeah.
And after they came to Taiwan with Japanese influence, we're now going Taiwanese. But people in the south of Blank's province can understand me.
Yes.
But if I were to speak Taiwanese now, you don't understand me.
Yeah.
Are you from the north or from the west of the province?
Actually, north.
North, all right. But you didn't perform in your hometown. You went to Ningpo.
Yes.
Is that a second-rate city or third?
I think second.
Second. Okay, so you move up the ladder. See how judgmental the Chinese people are.
Yeah.
So you moved into a slightly bigger city. Was it a university town?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I also performed in my hometown after the university when I
Did you try to move to Shanghai or Beijing? Or you're like, nah, I'm going to go straight overseas?
Like, I'm not rich enough, obviously, so I just cannot afford the life in Shanghai. After the university, I just leave and come to London, so just have no chance to go to Shanghai.
So when you're saying you were a star on the Ningpo circuit? Or...
No, it's the third city, the third level. Well,
I'm pretty sure even if you had gone to Shanghai, you would have risen to the top. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you. It sounds very sarcastic, but I appreciate that.
That's your choice to filter and interpret my
Yeah.
I met you during the Christmas show in 2022,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Since then, you built up a reputation. You were collecting the new act competition trophies.
I do.
With a focus on Gong show.
Yeah, true.
So Gong show, for people who are not familiar with this comedy term, is a gladiator-like competitive. So you get on stage and there were 3 members of the audience that decide whether you get to stay or not, whether your joke is good enough to deserve their full attention for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If the card holder raised their card and you got all 3 of them up, then you'll be gonged off the stage. That's what they call a gong show. You not only survived the show, you collected a couple of those winners. So which one? You got the Comedy Store one?
Yeah.
You got the
Top secret one, which doesn't survive anymore, but I get the last one.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You terminated it.
Yes, I do.
Why
Easy.
is that important for you, those new act competition?
So, to be honest, at the first beginning, I just want to get some paid work, and winning a Gong show is the easier way to get into the paid level and just to be seen by the other comedy bookers, especially the King Gong, the Comedy Store one. I got my paid work offer immediately after I won the King Gong that night.
Right, so you were conscious of how to say that. It's not, let's say, a shortcut. You will accelerate. You moving up to the paid comedy spots.
Yeah, also I just feel it's very challenging for me to do the Gong show because I know many comedians here, they don't want to do the Gong show. They think it's very brutal. It's not the comedy we want. But I think it's funny. Even you are very famous, when you walk into a Gong show, most of the audience, they still don't know you. You are still compared with other people. And their reaction just tell you this joke is not good enough. Just go back and write more jokes. It's the most instant feedback from the audience.
How would you describe it? You feel like it is something absolutely necessary if you want a quick progression on the comedy circuit, but you don't like it, or you actually kind of like it, you don't mind it, and you get to have the benefit? Which one is more accurate?
To be honest, I'm glad right now I don't need to do the Gong show anymore. I graduated and I was happy to see other people are still surviving for that. But at the first beginning, I do enjoy that.
You did enjoy that?
Yeah, I did. Especially maybe you are the only female or just people don't really talk to me when I was doing the Gong show. But after I win the Gong show, like, okay. And then they go away. I just enjoy the moment people are pissed off by me.
When you say people ignore you, do you talk about when you arrive at the venue and before the show started and people just kind of think, who is this Chinese girl?
Yes.
She can't be that great on stage, can she?
Exactly.
And you pull off a Susan Boyle. Do you know the reference?
No.
What prompted you to move to the UK? Study.
Yeah, also, Fujianese people, we are quite famous for the illegal immigrants. Do you know that?
Oh, yes, they were operating in Singapore. All the dodgy business.
Yeah, so it's like impossible for me to get an American visa. So I can only go UK. So it's my second choice.
You mean that if you were to apply for American visa, but you come from another province, then your chance of getting the visa will be higher?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
See?
We are the third citizen again.
Blame your ancestor. They didn't run like my ancestor did 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a bit inappropriate. So you came to the UK to study and you meant to continue the comedy journey.
Yes.
But you know fully well that the market is way too small here.
I think it's quite big compared to China, you know.
Really? In what sense?
Like comedy just have a longer history in UK or in America.
But at the same time, it's growing in China. It's rising.
Oh yeah, true.
Fast growing.
Oh yeah, but you know it's
Yes, so that is one of the difficult bit, like how far I would go.
yeah.
Before I started today's recording, I messaged Blank and say
Yeah.
that anywhere you feel is getting uncomfortable or you feel either or is maybe in trouble, you need to let me know because we are not gonna deny it's not okay. My language seems a bit coded. I don't want to get you into trouble.
But-
I want to invite here
Yeah.
as a performer who doesn't speak English as first language to share your experience. And obviously, we have to get to this slightly uncomfortable topic right now because it is one of your comedy theme about the censorship.
Yeah.
And it's not quite the same doing stand-up comedy in China compared to stand-up comedy in the Western world. And you had a very powerful joke on that. You joke about people complaining that comedians are getting canceled. That's a very first world problem.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
because as you do in China, you have to submit your script to acquire pre-approval.
Yes.
That is different.
So there's one funny thing I didn't tell you before you asked me for my consent to do some topical discussion.
Yes.
When you asked me, is that okay to talk about the censorship or something? At that time, saying like, I'm nobody knows me, so
Yes.
I'm totally fine. We can talk about that.
Yeah, she did say that. That's what she told me.
Actually, I have two answers. That one is the polite answer.
And the other one.
Like, Conway, you are not famous enough, so we are totally safe.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just nobody notice you as well. So
That's what I hope.
yes, the real reason is like if we just mention it a little bit, then people will interpret it in a bad way. But if you openly talk about that, people will not even dare to discuss about that. So we just talk about that. Is that
Oh, you mean like the netizen, the Chinese people on internet?
yes?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean right now.
Yeah.
If we are too vague,
Yes.
they can start to invent and put words in our mouth. But if we are so specific about the Chinese censorship on comedians,
Yes.
by talking about it, they are implicit in this crime or naughty behavior,
Yeah.
and it become a protection mechanism. Wow.
That's my surviving strategy all the time.
Either you're really smart or either you're really stupid, but we don't know, so we just have to accept.
Yes. Who knows?
Let's not say stupid, maybe naive.
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm talking to you, I'm extra careful with my word.
Oh, yeah.
If I do something on my own
Yeah.
and I generate problem and I attract attention from the Chinese government, I suffer the consequences myself.
Yeah.
But I'm inviting you on my podcast.
Yes.
So I have your welfare to take into consideration because I don't want to invite you and just to exploit this tension for a little bit of increase in viewership. I'll give you an example. When I did the show in Edinburgh, I invited people from 12 to 15 countries and including and I put the flag of each country on each comedian's face.
Yeah.
Then I thought I'm publishing it and I didn't put a flag on my own face as organizer of the show because I don't want to get into trouble.
Okay.
I know some Taiwanese people, if they hear this, they'll be furious. It's like, what? Are you ashamed of your own country? I'm not, but it's complicated.
Yes, I got you.
I remember when we met in 2022, we did the Yellow Christmas
Yes.
gig. You told me people could sense the tide and the wind is turning because there were a few comedians getting into trouble. They've either been told to pay a hefty penalty
Yeah.
or some comedy club had to either shut down or adjust their behavior. I don't know what exactly happened. But
Everything,
basically,
yeah.
before that, the pre-approval or script wasn't required. Is that right?
So even before they put comedian into jail, even before that thing happened, we need to censor our script from very first beginning. But it's like a different way. You're
What
like,
do you mean that we had to censor our scripts? What did you mean by that?
I mean, okay, so the Chinese, they have a system or have a institution. They will censor our script from very first beginning as long as you want to perform in public. But at that time, it's more like a official thing. Like we will hand over another script, a clean script script and perform another script.
So it wasn't thoroughly executed.
Sure.
So it's like bookkeeping.
Yeah.
People have to... So
Yes.
that's how they used to do it.
Yes.
But the authority kind of turned a blind eye to this practice.
Yes. And also it depends in different provinces. Like for example, in Beijing or maybe Shanghai, they are more strict. But in the province like my province or another city I was performing, it's more loose. People don't really
there's
care.
a Mandarin term for that. 天高皇帝远.
Yes.
The sky is high, the emperor is far away. They may be more careful for the big city because Beijing, you're literally around the government. But you're saying in the provinces where there were not as many foreigners or you're in a third-rate Chinese city, it wasn't quite as important.
Yeah, also it's like there's another saying called 上有政策,下有对策.
So you have your policy, we have our
Strategy.
corresponding strategy.
Yeah, so it's not so strict as it sounds. But after that thing happened, it's become indeed very strict.
Yeah.
But it's 1 year past, so right now it's become loose again.
So that thing happened without saying what specifically that incident was. When was that? 2022?
I think it's last year, May or June.
It's last year or 2 years ago?
Oh my god, I forgot.
I think it's 2022, right?
Maybe it's 2022, yeah.
Someone was making a joke about the military, and there was another female comic talks about the testing of COVID and linked that to a seemingly sex crude joke, but it was implicated in criticizing government's COVID strategy, and this got her into trouble. And then I remember you told me some people thought it's a bit too strict. A lot of them wanted to move away, but they didn't have the proficiency in another language. Your English was relatively
Good.
fluent.
Then, yes.
Better than a lot of them. So you had a chance to switch.
True.
I remember the way you told me the switch gonna require some work. It's not easy peasy, but you at least had the chance to switch to an English stand-up comedy performer, whereas a lot of them, that is way too difficult.
True, because most of the people I know, they are either older, so it's harder for them to learn a language from the very beginning. And I still have some English basis from the school, which is not very great, but it's still acceptable.
Yeah.
So I'm just very lucky I can still try to pursue a career in another language. Yeah.
And what do you feel now that you've learned is getting a bit more relaxed again? Did you regret making the switch? Maybe you could have stayed there and now you may be like the super big stage. Like you are hitting the clubs here so quickly. People probably tend to have to go through the process by 5 or 6 years. You focus on Gong show and your bet paid off. You're doing top club work after a year or two.
Yes.
But do you still think that if I hadn't left,
I think I made the correct choice, actually. I think if I stay in China, I cannot make it in the same level in the Mandarin comedy scene. Because there are so many funny comedians over there. And among them, I'm just one of them. I'm not above them. So I think I just find my own way, a correct way, I would say.
you mean by moving yourself here, you become more
Unique.
special?
I do, yes. Because I think I just never see any Chinese comedian and performing in English.
Let's clarify a little bit, because when you say Chinese, it sounds a bit far right-ish. I think what you meant is first generation.
Yeah.
When you see someone who label themselves as a Chinese comedian, they tend to be second or third generation.
Yes, exactly.
And which means that they either know that differently from
British.
or they probably never lived in Asia or China.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
And you are providing a first-hand experience, someone who lived there almost all your life by this point.
Yes, exactly. I start in Mandarin, and the Mandarin stand-up comedy, it's similar but still different to the English comedy scene. I think I just have the skill from the Mandarin.
Mm-hmm. That comes back to the point that what set you apart from the majority of guests I've had so far. They were building it from scratch, albeit in the first foreign language.
Yes.
You transition.
Yes,
For you, it's about transition.
True.
What was the big difference for you?
First of all, my Mandarin joke and my English jokes are totally different.
You didn't just translate the jokes.
No, none of them is translatable.
In what way? So is it because you used to do Chinese puns or what makes them completely separate?
There are mainly two reasons. First of all, it's like a Chinese pun or Chinese wordplay. This is not translatable. Second and more important, I think just because the topic we are concerning about is totally different. Like the news we hear every day is different. So even you want to make an analogy, you need to use different thing. Like see it, say it, sort it.
See it, say it, sort it. It's the announcement you hear very often in London Underground.
Yeah, if I say that in China, nobody get that.
So you're saying that your English show come from your new experience of living in this country
Yes.
and observation of this country. Can I also say you are performing to your audience as a different person? You are presenting yourself as an outsider. That is
Yes.
something I use as well.
Yeah.
I am a newly arrived immigrant. You guys are weird. You think you know my country? Oh no, let me tell you what my country
Yes.
is, right?
Yeah.
So that's your role as a comedian performing to audiences in the UK.
Yeah.
Who were you when you performed in China? Were you a middle-class girl? Were you a well-educated girl? Were you a mischief street girl? So what was the persona when you performed in Mandarin?
I think, honestly, in Mandarin, I don't have a very clear persona. I'm just a normal female.
What's the majority of your theme, your material? What did they focus on in Mandarin?
I would say something from my province. You know, China is so big. People from different provinces have different observation, different material, different upbringing.
Regional stereotype.
Yes, yes. And also just like the basic news or the topic we care about, acceptable level of the politics.
Are you talking about the ridiculous nature of those news or the dishonest nature of those news?
Both of them.
So before it got very strict, you were playing with the propaganda-ish,
Yes.
the detached nature
Okay.
of news and people's perception of what's going on in their
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
But in a way, when you joke about regional stereotype, you
Yeah.
were still playing that other image, right?
Yeah, true.
'Cause did you play yourself as the less cultured girl from Fujian province in a slightly more well-off province?
My 7 minutes opening joke is about how big the cockroach it is in Fujian.
The cockroaches?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's very Taiwanese thing as well, right? I think
Yeah,
you...
they're flying.
Yes.
You rose so quickly.
Yeah.
I've not seen you done like full-length show. I've not got a chance to watch your 20 spot. We haven't geeked a lot together.
No.
I guess it has to be East Asian theme, right?
Ah, yeah.
Otherwise, they will only literally. She told me there was one gig I didn't have to cancel. I said I couldn't do the gig, and they didn't read the email. They still think I was about to do the gig. So the day before, I told it no. I told you I couldn't, and they booked blank. I don't know
Yes,
what's the
yes,
logic. So,
yes.
we can't do this Taiwanese. Let's find a Chinese
Yeah, that's so funny.
potato. Either way, I've not seen long form content from you, but when I was flicking through your Instagram clips, the clips I like the most were the one you talk about your slightly weird grandpa and grandma.
Ah, that one, yeah.
I think it's hilarious. I invite people to find that clip.
Oh, thank you.
Right. Okay. I don't want to be coming across in any way or degrading your craft. I wonder whether it's because I do a lot of those stereotypes on China. When I start the show, I will tell people, you may think I'm Chinese, I'm not, but be careful, they're still listening. I will
Yeah.
have a very quick line to address the idea they think that, oh, you look Chinese. I need to get that out of the way. So I just do a very quick line and then move on to anything I want to talk about.
Yeah.
It's also something a lot of so-called Chinese comedians, especially the second generation comedian that tend to do. I have this sort of repulsive, I just thought,
I see.
you've not even lived there. Like you claim.
Yeah.
So for example, when I see someone who clearly never worked in a sweatshop and they say, I made you something,
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, come on. They are very effective, though.
Yeah.
There are few stereotypes about Chinese people. They are very effective. Made in China, eating dog meat.
Yeah. Small.
Small is the low-hanging fruit, and you will have a smarter take on some of those.
Yeah.
But I tend to think, yeah, but I've seen similar jokes before. But the one you talk about your grandma and grandpa, that was you. That was just you. Today you explain how you used to do those jokes in Mandarin. I kind
Yeah.
of feel, oh, I wish I could see more of the Mandarin comedy from you because I never got to see that.
Yeah.
Was it weird for you when you moved here and you realized you have to do more of those Chinese stereotypical jokes at the start?
At the beginning, yes, but right now I don't really bother. Because usually I just post those kind of clips for clickbaiting or something.
Yeah.
But usually offline, I don't do that. Indeed, I feel it's quite a weird thing. All the foreigners or the outsider, when they come here, they need to do something like, I'm half blah blah, half blah blah, so I'm blah blah. Those kind of joke. But I also think it's a very beginner thing.
So you kind of agree with me, actually.
Yes. Yeah, we have to do that. But if we become more famous or find our own audience, we don't need to do that anymore.
Is that a necessary compromise you have to make along the way of progressing into a more mature, self-assured performer? My view is that even though it's really effective, if I feel like I've seen it somewhere somehow, or every other person of the same ethnicity might have done the same joke, then you eventually have to reduce the proportion of those jokes. Otherwise, you are just someone that can be replaced by someone of the same ethnicity, right?
I agree.
There was this comedian who had this joke, because I don't know her in person, so I'm gonna mention her name. The joke was, I'm like your Chinese takeaway. I'm cheap, I'm easy.
Oh, I made you click it out. Sorry.
Why are you doing that? I'm just trying to set up so quickly.
I know.
I'm just like, come on.
I know. I got you.
There are different school of thoughts on this. One is everything can be joke material. Don't be so sensitive. But there's a real difference in how some races perceive themselves to be superior. So you don't have to be the circus monkey.
Yeah.
I also think that I've seen quite similar joke like this from a lot of comedians. So it doesn't, I don't know. What did you feel about that?
Oh, so...
Do you think it's going to bring us into trouble? Because people probably will be able to recognize that's a joke from her, right?
If you beat it, then I just...
No, I will cut a bit off.
Oh, okay.
But I actually describe the actual joke almost word by word.
Yeah, maybe just leave it there. It's fine. I don't have many friends in comedy, so... And that's the reason. I don't think it's a great joke. Yeah. I can openly say that. It's an easy joke.
It's a crowd-pleasing joke.
Yeah,
it's an easy joke. Yeah.
I know. So I would do stereotype joke, but if I want to do stereotype joke, I need one more tag. You know what I mean?
So if you do a stereotypical joke, you will add a layer or one more...
I think if I'm doing a racially self-deprecating joke as the punchline, I will do one more to attack you as well.
I'm the butt of the joke, but so are you.
Yes.
At least make it fair.
Yeah, because I have a joke about Chinese people eating dog, but if I stop that, I will despise myself. Well, I have the joke about eating dogs, but my next joke is about pedophile. So it's hard to describe. I think our position is very awkward when we are making fun of our own culture. It seems a little bit like please the Westerners. But at the same time, we don't really want to please the Westerners. It's very different.
We want to be on an even level.
We are not really making fun of our own culture to please you.
Maybe at the start when you are learning the craft, but if you are mature enough and have a bit more self-respect, you have to find another level of playing around with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you still perform in Mandarin in the UK sometimes?
No.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
You say bye-bye to the past.
Yeah, I did perform a little bit when I just arrived here, but I quit very soon.
That's really funny. Before the recording started, we were having this very casual chat.
Yeah.
And Blank told me that to prepare for today's recording, she flicked through her old material, like her notes when she was performing comedy in Mandarin. And she's like, I kind of missed this.
Yeah, I do. It's
But the way
funny.
you're describing it, it's like you are reading some classwork from secondary school. It's like, oh, it was adorable, but I ain't gonna do this anymore. Is it what you're feeling right now?
No, I think I still want to do that right now. It's still funny. It's 2 years ago. It's a classic joke.
But you don't have infinite amount of time. You either do A or either do B, right?
I can do both, but the problem, I cannot find audience in UK. I cannot find Chinese audience or the
You
suitable
can
audience.
though. Maybe it's not as big as all the other non-Chinese people combined, but I'm sure you can carve out because there are quite a few. There are more and more Taiwanese singers coming to the UK to do concert. It's not because there's enough Taiwanese people living here. It's because there are so many Chinese students who live here.
Yeah, I know there are some Chinese stand-up comedy club in UK. I don't really want to say that, but I don't really like the audience.
Why?
Because as you just mentioned, they are the mainly Chinese students. So the topic they are interested in is very, very limited. Also, it's hard to know everybody's political stance. So even I want to talk about the material I want to do, I'm not familiar with them. Maybe they will report me or something.
But didn't you say that you're not that big a fish to get into trouble?
Yeah, that's in English.
Oh, because not all the students have that level of command in English.
Yes.
And when you go to clubs, you don't see that many Chinese audience members. But if you're doing Chinese comedy here,
obviously
the chance of getting noticed and getting reported is much higher.
And everybody have the social media in China, and it's very easy to find me.
Do you still maintain your account on the Chinese social media?
Not really.
微博, 新浪?
I do, but I don't really run it, so...
Is there a little bit of you feel like there's a bigger room for maneuver, as a little bit more creative space and liberty when you're performing English now and reluctant to go back? Or it's just a bigger market?
I think it's just a bigger market. Like even in China, we have the censorship or something. In certain place, I can still openly do some other materials. And also in my mother language, it's easier for me to write to express my own idea. But in English, I'm just not so good at English.
That's interesting for you to say that, though. Again, it comes back to you initially starting as a Mandarin performer. The decrease in language fluency for you is even more obvious.
Yes.
Because you feel you can use it so freely, but now you are using something to a small degree kind of restricted. It's still usable, but you can feel that it's not exactly the same.
Like left-handed writing.
Yeah, so you're right-handed, and if you have to write with your left hand now, you can do it, but you don't produce the same handwriting.
Yes, exactly.
This is the most self-censored, not self-censored. This is the episode where I have to think before every single sentence.
The power of China?
It's not like we are being directly censored, but there was just a little thing looming over me. I think it comes back to when you fill out an official form, you don't write down your name as Blank Peng, right?
Yeah.
If you go to a non-comedians gathering, do you introduce yourself as Blank? Partially, I don't want to know your real name.
No.
Because there's no chance for me to reveal your real name. So don't ever tell me what your real name is.
The reason why I'm laughing is because I don't have friends.
You don't have friends.
So I don't have to go to the party. This situation never happened to me.
So what about your neighbors, though? Who do they know you as?
My real name.
Is it an anglicized name or is it a Chinese name?
A Chinese name.
Chinese name.
Yeah.
So Blank is very clear your stage name.
Yeah, I just use it as my English name as well.
And there was one of your earlier joke when you started here.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore, but yes.
And why your Instagram account has Blank 404?
Because in China, we always have a stage name, and my original stage name is 404.
Why is that?
If I want to sound cool, I should say it's because the censorship, I'm criticizing the censorship
It's like your prisoner's number or something.
Yeah.
It's his ID number.
It's because the 404 not found on the internet if you cannot find the information anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, just because at the first beginning, I want to come up with a cool name, and this is cool.
In what way is it cool?
Yeah.
Is it because 4 sounds like death?
No.
And it's a number that Chinese older elderly tend to avoid, so you call yourself 404?
No. Just because 404 means information disappear. I'm thinking...
In coding terms or?
Coding. Oh, sorry, I'm an engineer and you are, I don't know.
But the majority of people probably are like me. I mean, the reference completely lost on me. Okay, but at least we know.
Okay, yeah. So if the government want to hide some information and you search the certain thing, the information will just disappear and you will see 404 not found.
Yeah.
That's the reason. It's an error code.
Okay, I'm glad because that question was worthwhile.
No.
I mean, it's also a perfect ending for the English recording bit. I'm going to record another bonus episode in Mandarin. I think it will come across a bit more natural between us for next hour. But I do want to know, if you're not a Mandarin speaker, but you're a regular listener to the podcast, tell me what you feel when you see the bonus episode recorded Mandarin pops out. Does that annoy you? Or you say, yeah, more than welcome. Or please could you just do a separate podcast all in Mandarin? Stop slotting, smuggling in Mandarin content in this English podcast. That's our guest today, Blank Peng. No, seriously, you left the clue on the initial political setup.
Yeah.
You called yourself Blank. Your Instagram account has 404, but you've actually moved into the next stage of your English performing career. It's not just so much about China, not just Chinese stereotype, it's not just politics. It is still politics, but it's on your observation here as a performer. I think Blank will be on even bigger stage very soon. I'm going to thank you for coming to the podcast today. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.